G'day everyone. Before we start this week's TLT podcast, massive announcement over on the All Out Club podcast. We have one of the best AFL players of all time joining us this week on the podcast. He's won 3 premierships. He's played over 300 games. He's won the Norm Smith. He's pretty much done everything you can imagine in the AFL scene. The podcast is dropping in Thursday, so make sure to follow All Out Club on Instagram to see who that person is tomorrow. If you can guess, make sure to like it in the comments and put your guess in the comments. But yeah, massive podcast coming out Thursday, All Out Club podcast. Make sure to follow Instagram and let's get straight in to TLT for round
11.
Welcome to the TLT podcast for All Out NRL Fantasy. Nearly got my words stuck there because, we do have a massive guest coming on the All Out Club podcast this week, mate, and we will get to that very shortly in the end of the week. But how are you, mate? Firstly, a Monday night with Dor.
Yes,
the first edition.
Finally made its debut. Was a few R's mentioned, but look,
a few Captain R's.
Yeah. A few R's, but I was a bit nervous. But we'll get better as.
I think you did a good job, mate.
As the week goes on, or as the weeks, should I say, go on? The KO weeks go on. But yeah, it was good. It was really good. I thought it went well. Got through. Went into the review of how our team, what we're sort of looking at doing over the next couple of weeks. As well as some players to really get into your side in these coming weeks.
Yeah, I think it's moving day for NRL fantasy coaches, I think, because, you got the bye round coming up, Origin not too far around the corner. Do we start to move on some guns to make way for some bye round players? I reckon that's all the questions that people are going to be asking this week. So
100%. I
think it is moving around for a lot of people. It's time to pack up ship and move on. And Captain R over here might actually have a few trades for you coming up.
100%. Captain R definitely does.
Yeah. Look, we did mention the All Out team yesterday on Monday night with Dor, didn't you?
We did. Yeah, I went through a few scenarios. I think that we definitely got to be looking at Jacob Saifidi or Riley Smith coming into the All Out team this week, as with the unfortunate expense of Lachlan Hubner. Unfortunately, he just doesn't play next week, and even though he's still starting, he's probably only getting around 40, 50 minutes, so he unfortunately has to go.
Look, it's quite an interesting TLT, I must admit. It's probably the best one that we've had all year.
And I'm very excited.
If you haven't followed our community page on the Instagram, I did drop a bomb that I normally do leave my pod captains for the start of the week. And I do want to highlight that my pod captains are doing quite well. First week it was Couchman, then Tino, then Sharp. So 50 plus every round, by the way.
Yep.
But I did drop that on Monday night that Zach Hosking will be my pod captain. And look, I might put the C on him straight away. Has he got the start?
Yes, he does.
So he we'll get to him in a minute, but I do want to highlight that he is my pod captain, and I said it Monday before everyone drops all the comments on him. But we should get started, Dawn, don't you reckon?
Oh, 100% Cord. I'm very much looking forward to this TLT. It's a great one.
Well, the Knights and Eels kick us off on the Friday night, actually, because the Thursday is the second Origin for the girls. Dane Gagai is going to play his 300th game for the Knights off his NRL career. Should I say.
Good on him.
Look, Fletcher Sharp continues to make absolute headlines in the fantasy scene, unlike Greg Marzu, who's a sell this week. 4 to 6 weeks for Greg.
Out 4 weeks. So, yep.
And
he has to go, unfortunately.
And a popular buy a few weeks ago was Leo Thompson, but he will also miss Friday's clash after a head knock. So a bit of a setback for those. I'd say he's a hold, though, due to the fact that they have the buy the next week, and he's a 50-point player.
Yeah, plays in that buy round week, round 12 there. The Knights do. They play all the way up until round, I think it is, 17. Then they have the buy in round 18, I believe it is, off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway cord from this Knights team is really Jacob Saifidi. He's, like I touched on last night in Monday night with Dor, he's been absolutely tremendous
he's
the
been
last
killing
couple
it.
of weeks. 50 points 2 weeks ago, and then last week got 60. I think it was 52 and then 60 last week. So, yeah, they've got Frizzell is starting at prop with Leo Thompson out, and Adam Elliott's come into the starting side at lock, and then good old Thomas Cant is back on the bench, and then Fletcher Hunt makes his debut on the wing to replace Greg Marzhew, like you just touched on before, Cord. So that's really it. Look, Fletcher Hunt, unless you really want a red dot, like he could go well for the next couple of months, but then you also need to consider as well the fact is that the Dom Young news. It does look like Dom Young will eventually go to Newcastle. It's just that it's taking
a matter of when.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah, exactly. A matter of when. They're still trying to work out the financials, and there's a bit of tension or a bit of conflict sort of there at the moment. So once they get resolved, I'd say they're definitely going to get that resolved soon. I'd say Dom Young will be there at the Knights next week, so Fletcher Hunt's probably only going to play one game. But what about that Fletcher Hunt and Fletcher Sharp?
Yeah, Fletcher Sharp is just continuing to make absolute waves in the fantasy scene. For the Eels, though, Zach Lomax is set to make a return just in time for Origin, which is great news for the Eels and the Blues. He's pretty much a straight swap for Bailey Simonson, who picked up a foot injury. Good to see Lyles has only just made the one change with back rower Matt Dory into the starting side for the expensive Geimer. So it means that you'd think that Smith plays another 80-minute role there.
100% Cord. That's a big thing. Hands was named, I believe, in Jersey 22 last week as well. So he's there again this week. And I know there was a few people over, not only just our podcast, but the other fantasy creators as well, sort of a bit hating, putting some shade on Riley Smith that, he was going to lose the spot to
He's been handy.
or Lussick.
He's been good.
He's been really good.
Yeah.
We basically just said he was going to get better every week, Riley Smith was, and he really does, or really has done that. So if you want to get Riley Smith, I don't hate getting him in at all. I still think that there's some good money to be made with Riley Smith. And apart from that, I think Geimer got dropped and Matt Dory moved into the second row. But outside of that, I'm pretty sure it's the same Eels team that we've seen the last few weeks, and I'm not really sure outside of Riley Smith, Cord, if there's not really anyone else that I really want to touch on in that Eels team. So I'm happy if you're happy to move on to the next game.
Mate. The Doggies and the Roosters, and it was a week of comebacks, was around 10, and the Doggies pulled an incredible one off against the Raiders to remain at the top of the table. Just one change for them. Jamin Salmon has suffered an ankle injury, which means Harry Hayes pushes to the starting side. Luke Smith is in line for an NRL debut for him. I would be buying Harry Hayes considering that Preston is only 3 weeks away. So you'd think that he comes back in, which he will. For the Roosters, Lindsay Collins will have one game to prove his fitness in Q Cup. He's playing just before State of Origin, should I say. So
he's basically just got that one game to, just like Lomax, Harry Grant, etc. Like those guys are going to get one game, or To'o did last week. They get one crack to really show that they're ready to go.
Well, the Roosters are coming for bye, and Sandon Smith is back, so I'd be holding him just in case.
100%.
Look, the halves pairing that you're probably likely to go with for the round 12 is Nicho Hynes and Hugo Savala, if you got those two at the moment.
Well, if you've got a heap of money and you want to sell Cleary, I think the ideal ones is probably Nicho Hynes and Jamal Fogarty.
100%.
I think are the two that you want to run with. But everyone's going to have Savala, or if you don't, well, I'm pretty sure he's got a absolutely really low break even. I think it's of -15. I will quickly check. Yeah, -15 this week for Hugo Savala. Look, fantasy wise, Cord, if you've still got the likes of like Watson, Crichton, especially those two, Watson and Crichton, you can, if you didn't sell them last week, I sold both of those guys last week. So you can get rid of, or I'd be getting rid of them after this week. You might as well just hold them if you still got them.
Yeah.
I think you get 4 trades next week. I think.
Okay. That makes sense. So you get 8 extra trades still at the end of the year?
No, I don't think so. That was just like a one-off thing.
Oh, okay.
No. Let me just quickly check.
Yeah, while you check that.
I will check that. The other thing I wanted to mention was Kiraz is just being special.
Yeah, I think he's going to play Origin.
Yeah, it really depends. It really depends on...
If he doesn't, it's a robbery. He's been elite.
He has been very good, but at the same time, like Toe and Lomax haven't been bad. It's just that they've been injured. So, and they did win last year. So it'll be interesting to see what Laurie Daly does do with the with the Blues team. Look, Luke Smith, I haven't seen much of him, but I did see a photo of him, and holy hell, he is Jamie Humphries 2.0 with his arms. He has been
Big
hitting.
boy.
He's been hitting the bicep curls really hard.
He's been hitting the gym, has he?
So yeah, I think a few will be surprised with the absolute cannons on him that Luke Smith has. But good on him. Congratulations.
Yeah, while you check that one, I'll move on to the Dolphins-Warriors game.
Yep,
No
go
changes
for
for
it.
the Dolphins, who held on to defeat Parramatta last week. Tom Gilbert has been good. Consider him to be an origin player this year. For the Wires, James Fisher-Harris is set to return from a pec injury. No sort of impact from my end on Aaron Clark, who has been absolutely special and probably is a must-have buy now at the hooker position or mid, because he is that dual. And no other real news for the Wires, who do play that first bye round with the Dolphins. So Dolphins, Wires players, considering there's not a lot there, but there's ones to get into your side for round 12, I'd say, if you don't have them already.
Yes, I will get to that game, but I do have the
You have the
news,
answers?
and I do have the answers, Cord. So you get 44 trades for the entire season. So 36 trades are available for you until the end of round 19, and then when round 20 comes, you get 8.
Okay, so you get 8 extra.
So it's basically, like you said, Cord, the exact same as other seasons. In regards to the team list that you've just gone through, you just went through the Dolphins and Warriors, I assume.
Yep.
Look, there's not really that much there. I think Aaron Clark is going to keep those minutes for. Yeah, I really think he's going to keep those minutes with Fisher-Harris, even with him coming back. He's just been outstanding for the Warriors and provides such a spark for them through the middle of the field. And he's just a real worker, Cord. He's dominating in all. Even if you have him in Supercoach as well, he's dominating there. A bit disappointed that RTS isn't back this week, but I think with how the Warriors are playing, I think they're just keeping him in that extended reserve. So we should see him back soon. And Dolphins, look, outside of the man I touched on last night, Isaiah Katoa, who's been really, really good, they play next week in that major bye round, but they do unfortunately miss the round 13, so the round after the bye round.
Yeah.
They don't play that game. Or that round, should I say. The only other person there to really talk about is Herbie Farnworth. If you haven't got him yet, he is a serious gun.
Yeah. For the Cows, though, and the
big one.
The person who partners Herbie in my centres is Jackson Purdue, and he has shifted from centre to 5'8" in a major shake-up for North Queensland. Tom Dearden's still to play halfback. Laybutt comes into the centres, and with respect to Laybutt, he has been elite in the past, despite injury.
100%. It will be great to see him back this week, and I think he'll do a really good job. But
Jake Clifford, the one to be dropped, by the way.
Yeah, did I see this coming? No, I did not see this coming. I know Purdue.
He's got good numbers in Q Cup at half, so it's going to be no issue for him. It's going to be probably better for him. More hands on the ball.
Yeah,
it was almost a sell. He's a hold now.
No, definitely. I think I said it last night before we knew this news, is that I was thinking like Purdue, you could keep him this week and then get rid of him next week. But with this news, I think that this actually boosts Purdue's fantasy points. Like you said, more touches of the ball for Jackson. So I think for him, if you still own Jackson Purdue, he is, like you said, Cord, he is probably the biggest hold in fantasy this week.
100%. And for the Eagles, Jake Trbojevic has moved back to lock, Justin Vanga to hooker, Ethan Bullimore to start a prop, and Jake Simpkin moving to the bench. If you bought Jazz last week, are you cheering? I really don't know. He'll still play the 50 minutes, I think.
I did get Jazz last week, and I don't know what to think of this. I don't know what to think of this. Is a bad thing or a good thing. Like, I'm not seeing Josh Alloway yet, and Jakey Turbo is back to lock, but could we see like Gerbo move to the middle when Tokiaho or Bullimore comes off? I think we could. And then definitely. We could see Tavanga move back into that lock. It's a bit hard to say, but look, Tavanga's got a really low break-even chord anyway. So as long as he's getting those sort of minutes, around that like 40. I think he had like 48 minutes off the top of my head. He got 41 points. Look, he basically goes at a point a minute. 49 minutes, 41 points last week. So I think he should get around 40, 50 minutes at minimum.
Yeah. For the Shark Storm game, no real news for the Sharkies and nothing really for the Storm after absolutely demolishing the Tigers. But the big news, I guess, is that Captain Harry Grant has been listed among the reserves as he seeks a return from a hamstring injury. And then just one change, Tui Kamikamica is named on the bench. Nas reverting to the reserves after an absolute special performance.
Hell?
So I'm not sure what's going on there.
And he did the Dougie as well.
Yeah.
Oh, dearie me. Poor old Nas. A fan favourite. And I think there's going to be a few changes to this this Melbourne Storm team. I think Harry Grant will be named. I reckon he'll come into the 17 by the end of the week. I think they've just precaution reasons why they put him there on the extended. Gets through training during the week, he will definitely be in the 17. Surely Nas has got to come into the team. He was exceptional for the Storm last week. Look, fantasy-wise, I think if you want to get rid of Cleary through this origin period, look, I don't think we will be doing it, or myself, agree with it. But if you do, you can get Nico Hines is a really good option, like you discussed before, Cord. In regards to that, Jerome Hughes is another one. I definitely bottomed out, had a really good performance last week. I think Hughes is someone that you can get into your side this week. Actually, he doesn't play next week is the only downside to Jerome Hughes. So probably wait. Hopefully he doesn't absolutely set the world on fire this week.
Yep.
And then get him after the bye round. But in regards to that in the Storm team, I think he's the one that you really want to look at fantasy-wise. Your Katoas and whatnot are still doing well.
100%.
Ero is a good option. We did touch on him last week. So he's a real good option to get into your side if you want a really good center. But would I say go Ero or Herbie or someone? I think I'd rather say go Herbie or Dylan Lucas over Ero. But Ero's a good option. Fanua Blake's good. McInnes is good as well. And interesting, Billy Burns has still kept his second row spot, and Wilton is actually on the extended reserves there. No surprise as well with Tom Hazelton, unfortunately, being out. He definitely, that shoulder, he injured it again during that game last weekend. So I'm not surprised that Talakai comes back from HIA on the bench for him. But outside of that, Cord, I'm happy to move to my Broncos.
Yeah, and big news for the Broncos. Ezra Mam is set to play his first game of the NRL season. Ben Hunt obviously out with an injury there. And then just one change to the team that fell to South Sydney. Xavier Willison has been named in the back row. Brendan Pukura back to the bench. Now for the Drags, Toby Couchman has been sidelined. Jack DeBellon to come into the starting side. Dylan Egan also been named on the back row starting. Luciano Leilua on the bench, but that could definitely switch. In my opinion, as a Toby Couchman owner, I'm holding because they do play 16. Is it 15 and 18 the next bye rounds?
15 and 18.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure, yep.
Personally, one bit of advice from me this week is that I'm holding him purely for the fact for those 15, 18 rounds. He's due back round 14. He's such a gun. He's going to get 50 points anyway. So he's a hold for me. In terms of the Broncos, no real buys there for me at all with the Bronx.
I was keen on looking at, they don't play next week is the only downside for the Broncos, but I was definitely really keen on Brendan Piakura. I think he'd actually been playing very well. I don't know, it's PTSD for most owners, but he has been unbelievable the last 2 weeks, played 80 minutes. I believe he got 50 or something against the Panthers a couple of weeks ago, and a heavy loss for the Broncos.
Yep.
And then he got 62 last week. So he's in both in 80 minutes, 50 and 62 the last 2 weeks. So I was actually really looking at Piakura, but he doesn't play the bye round. So hopefully, potentially, you can get him in after round 13. Well, not basically the week after next, get him in for round 14.
Yep.
Outside of that,
Nothing much,
I
really.
don't really think there's much really to touch on. I know it's great to have Ezra Mam back. Had a stunning game last weekend in his return. Scored a try and set up 3. So I think that is a huge in for the Broncos. Ben Hunt out for a month at least. So and now, like we've touched on the whole season, Ben Hunt will be moving in to that hooker position. If obviously Reynolds is healthy. In terms of the Dragons, look, Hamish Stewart, he's been...
Hamish Stewart,
Hamish Stewart's, if you held on to him, he's been going really well the last couple of weeks and starting at lock, so that's really good for him. King Togia just seems to... he didn't have the greatest of games, poor old King Togia last week.
Nah.
But is he still a buy? Look, he's definitely still an option. He had 32 points, so actually it's not that bad for someone priced at 294. So look, break even of 0. But the problem is he just doesn't play next week in the buy round. So it's a bit hard. I'd rather be saying if you don't have Savala or King Togia, who to get, you got to get Savala. But otherwise, that's really it. Egan continues to eat, Cord.
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? And the Raiders, another guy continues to eat. And the Raiders-Titans game, and we mentioned it earlier, Zach Hosking, he's definitely a must-have this week. 592K, and a bit about his numbers since coming back, 48, 38, 58. That's all off the bench, by the way, except for last week. And then he started the season starting on the edge, obviously, 62, 53, and then got injured with a 29. So he is definitely a buy this week as Nicholson faces a 12-week stint on the sideline. Corey Horsburgh returns from a head knock, so if you kept him, happy days. And then for the Titans, before you jump in their door, a whole lot going on, but Kieran Foran has been named. Not really much fantasy news other than Isaac Fasilomawi unavailable due to concussion, and that's about it.
Yeah, no, there's not really that many changes for the Titans. They've basically, I think Jolliff's come back in on the bench. Foran is returning from injury.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see what happens there, how long Foran stays on the bench, or if we could see if the losses start to come again, that Brimson moves back to fullback and then Foran moves into the halves with JC.
Yep.
In that regard, look, Firma and Tino are definitely playing Origin, and there's a chance that Fotuaika does as well. But fantasy-wise, apart from Jaden Campbell, who had a really good game last week in returning from injury, so outside of him, I wouldn't be really picking up any of the other Titans. And like you said, I'm pretty sure on this podcast or the other one, as soon as we put Brimson into the sell category, he was going to gobble, and
he comes alive.
He did indeed gobble last week. So congratulations, AJ. And if you guys didn't listen to us and AJ teed off, congrats.
I held AJ.
But it seems like there's one every once in a while that we put in the sell list, and he decides to consume. Look, Tamale didn't have his greatest game last week, Cord. Partly due to the fact that the Raiders barely had the ball in the second half, and he wasn't really in that 20-0 really good start for them. So I definitely think he's a hold. He plays next week as well. Like I said last night, just hold him until after next week, and then we'll make up our mind what we need to do there. Horsburgh, I think he definitely plays Origin, but definitely hold. Tarpany did our buy of the week call last week. No worries at all. He went out there and killed it. I'm with you, Cord, though. I think the buy this week is actually Zach Hosking.
Yeah, it is. He's the buy of the week.
If you haven't seen our post from today as well, I did also put it in our little community chat as well, is that Nicholson is actually out for 12 weeks. So he is gone for basically nearly the rest of the regular season. So it's going to be, he's gone until like finals for fantasy head-to-head. So, look, in syndesmosis injury and fibular fracture.
No good.
So, look, Hosking, I think, is huge, especially as well, if you think about it, is that there's the likelihood of Hudson Young also playing Origin. So he might only play like 60, 70 minutes like he did at the start of the season, Cord. But in next week, I think if Hudson Young's in Origin camp, which he should be, I think Hosking's playing definitely 80 next week. I think if you need an edge, I'm not even recommending anyone else in fantasy. I think Hoskins is the number one person
he
to
plays
get into your team.
He plays round 18 as well, so he plays 2 of the major bye rounds.
He's a gun.
Yeah,
he's
he's
an
a buy.
out-to-out gun, and he's going to be playing big minutes for a good team. It's just so self-explanatory. Just get Hosking in. You need an edge, get him in.
Just get him in. The last game of the round is the Tigers and the Rabbitohs. No real news for the Tigers after a terrible loss. Terrell May keeps going well. Stafford Toa is back from a neck injury. Other than that, the Rabbitohs, Alex Johnson has been named to return. Kolongatangi has been shifted into prop, so I don't think there's any news there at all.
No, not really. Humphreys didn't have the greatest of games last week. Cord in his return from injury only got 19 points. I think he'll start to get back into it, but definitely don't buy him. He doesn't play next week. I think he's definitely one. Hopefully you want him to go well this week, maybe around 14.
Yep.
And then really hope that he's, I believe, South's player. I'm just going to double check before I say something that's not correct. No, yes, I am right. Jamie Humphreys does play the round 15. So he could be someone that you want to try and aim to get into your side for round 15. I think that break even, he'll lose a bit of money and then he'll start to come good as well. You've got to feel for South as well. There's been, they were outstanding in that second half last week to the detriment of my Broncos, but it was great to see, especially with so many players out, that they're still managing to find a way to get some wins. In terms of that, look, Keon Kalamatangi is a great option as well. I don't think he plays Origin, but he's probably someone more you touch on like Humphreys for that round 15 bye. I don't really think he's someone that he doesn't play next week, so someone to bring in right away. Regardless, Ewan Aiken is another one, Cord, that's playing well, but again, doesn't play next week, so I'm not saying go out and get him straight away, but if he plays second row like we saw at the Finns, brother, Aiken can get some serious fantasy numbers
100%.
because I know firsthand because Mick got him in last week and I versed Mick and he dropped a lovely 60 on my dome. So look, outside of that, Cord, Latrell, I think he definitely plays Origin after that performance last week. I still don't think Tommy Turbo's right. So as I said last night, I think Latrell will be picked in the centres for the Blues. So don't get him. But if he isn't, again, probably another round 15. The only thing with the Tigers, look, Terrell May continues to gobble, but he'll probably be picked for Origin, unfortunately. Great to see Stafford Toa back. I don't know if people still have him or have held him. But look, it's great if you did because he obviously was one of the great centres to start this season. And then the only other change, like you said, Cord, is I think Fanua Pole is out. I don't know how long he's out with that knee injury, but Royce Hunt is starting. But I just don't see Royce Hunt as a big minute middle. No. I think that he's someone like a Spencer Leniu. I think he plays like maximum like 30 minutes and he's trying to get a bit of impact. I think Sione Fainu on the bench might be the one to get that extra minutes, as well as, say, Alex Twal as well to play a bit more between lock and prop. But outside of that, Cord, I think that's TLT for this week. Everyone stay tuned for the big podcast coming tomorrow. Oh, well, it's coming Thursday. We'll be dropping Thursday with a special guest.
Will be announced on All Out Club Instagram who it is tomorrow, so make sure to follow that one. It's going to be an absolute ripper. I can already tell he's a gun of a bloke, and I can't wait.
Yep, and then there's also the Buy, Hold, Sell. So Buy, Hold, Sell will be coming out tomorrow night, Wednesday night, and then we've got our special podcast on the All Out Club coming out on Thursday morning. So, we appreciate all the support. Appreciate the love. Dr. R or Mr. R, whatever you want to call me, will continue to try and get a bit better with his speaking. But yes, we really do appreciate the support. It's great to be back. The posts are gobbling. But if you haven't, like Cord said, subscribe, follow all the socials and the Spotify and YouTube. And we will see you next week for round 12, the big round 12, the major buy round, TLT next week. So if you've got nothing else, Cord, we'll see you then.
See ya.